let's get into it. So what have you seen from the PFF discussion? Yeah,
I was teammates with J.J. Watt.
Okay, so where's
J.J. is like, I think, patient zero, like whatever. Like he's the, like, I feel like he's always arguing with PFF.
J.J. hates PFF.
O-linemen also
generally
dislike
hate
it
PFF
because offensive line, I would say, is one of the hardest to grade positions. I know offensive coordinators who don't know offensive line play.
Right.
I know head coaches in the NFL right now that couldn't tell you a damn thing about picking up like certain pressures.
How much do you think offensive linemen bristling at PFF is to do with now they're getting judged for the first time? Like before, it was just this guy, offensive lineman, he started 15 games, so he's good, right? And it's like that was the limit of it. So if you were an offensive lineman back in the day, you could kind of skate by without anybody knowing if you were good or bad because you started. That's all. PFF's out here going, this guy gave up 6 pressures, 2 sacks, and suddenly there's numbers attached to their performance.
I think that definitely is the first time like the offensive lineman has felt like the fantasy football phenomenon.
Right.
Where it's like, you didn't get me a catch. You lost me the game. I'm yelling at Josh Allen the other night. I lose by 1.5. And,
as he's throwing a pick.
As he threw that pick at the end of the game. So now it does put that pressure on. I do think it has its use and has its places. I love what you guys said about like the badges. Hey, you know, maybe we omit the 129 out of 129. Joe Thuney is the best pass protecting guard in the football. Tristan Wirfs is the best in both. He's top 3 in both.
He's got 2 badges or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the case is. It does get used against you, but you can also use it for you. Like I was the number 1 guard back in New York before I went down. I embodied it. I was like, oh, I must be the best guard in football. And there are some nuances that I go into.
Sure.
Like here's one I have for you. Like the city you play in. Me and David Bakhtiari came out the same year. He played in Green Bay. I played in New York. I was a first-round draft pick. They gave me a bunch of money. I got to run around New York for my 5 years. I'm pretty sure when David Bakhtiari went to Green Bay, they still had Blockbusters that you went to and rented videos on Friday nights. So David didn't have the same opportunities. He used to tell me, he's like, man, like in Green Bay, all I did was focus on football every single day. I'm like, so did I. Oh, no, sometimes in the off seasons.
So you're saying he had – so you're not saying it affects the grading. You're saying it affects –
the player. Right,
so
like,
he has more opportunities.
Does PFF hey Justin, you also got to deal with New York.
No, there's no.
We need to take into account there is no adjustment. New York's got a lot going on, Justin. You might go out on a Friday night to a charity event and stay, or go to a Knicks game and sit courtside. I know Bakhtiari did that at the Milwaukee, but I'm just saying or who you play next to.
You can't be disciplined to get in your playbook, man. No, there's no adjustment for that. It's an interesting insight though because I haven't thought of it as like. You have more distraction. Usually, when we talk about more distractions, we're only talking about the quarterback.
Yeah.
It's Eli. It's Shadur if he went to New York, but we didn't think of offensive linemen dealing with.
No. I mean, those are things that nothing is designed to capture that, right? Like no performance metric is supposed to be that's all stuff that is outside context. It's like, why is this guy good? Did this guy not work out? That's independent of any performance measure.
No, 100%.
All right, we got to talk more PFF here. What else do you think PFF can't know? Because I would argue, so I was joking the other day, I feel like I could go up against 10 NFL players and handle every argument for why PFF is bad or the grading is bad, and I could push back on all of them and give a pretty good argument for why it's good and useful. Not perfect. It was never claimed to be.
Okay, ready for my next one?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Who you play next to? I think continuity for the offensive line position and the defensive back position is the most important piece. I think if you give me everyone is right about a C+, you're better than having an A and an F, right? If I know, coaches always used to say, I can win with the guy that gives me this every single day. I know exactly what I'm getting. That's why I came back and the Giants started me at left tackle when I was 280 pounds. They knew I was going to be where I needed to be, when I was supposed to be, and how I was supposed to get there. Andrew Thomas playing next to you, if you're a left guard, is better than Justin Pugh straight off the couch, right? I was better playing next to DJ Humphries because he was a Pro Bowler and I was really good. Do you guys take into account who they play next to?
Well, we never did when we were there at PFF. That is one thing we've heard before because you're talking about we're handling stunts and twists, and I know the depth that they're going to play at, and it's probably it can be a factor. Yeah. We've talked to a lot of offensive tackles who's I hated playing next to this guard because of the miscommunication aspect. It can affect a couple plays, I would say.
Yeah. Not just that, but I mean the data would show you that as well. Like the data scientists guys who said, look, there's measurable power to continuity on the offensive line. Like just returning the same 5 guys the next year there's a statistically proven power to that. The combination of who they are is like you can see those things within the data, but it's not something that PFF grades adjust for.
Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and now let's get back to the action. And then I would say, the goal of PFF is to isolate the individual.
Yeah.
So now, is that the ultimate goal for the offensive line, right? It's the ultimate team unit, and you all got to be working together, and you all have to communicate, and you got to figure out how you're going to combo and get to the second level, and who's doing what, and what have you. So the team wants the line working in unison.
Yeah.
PFF wants to isolate the player. So playing who you're next to, I think it can affect a few plays. And then my counter to that would be like, well, there's 1,000. You're going to play 1,000 snaps in the season. PFF never claims perfection. And I would say if they got, like, I can tell you what a good down block is when you're running power.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't need to be in the meeting room to know what a good down block and climb to the second level is. I don't think.
So what if we
Unless
don't?
you're blocking the wrong guy every single play,
Yeah.
which I doubt. I can probably tell that and say that's a positive. You know what I mean? And so can the grading be right? If it's right 80% of the time, that's really good, right? Because the baseline is nothing.
Right.
As Sam said, Justin started 16 games. He's durable. Get him. Let's sign him. If you get 80% of the way right, that's good.
You're in the ballpark of kind of where this guy fits. Yeah,
and then you would say, okay, well, some of the stuff we missed might be negative. Some of the stuff we missed might be positives, right? Like chances are we didn't miss 15 good blocks that we just didn't know. And then the ability, picking up pass protection, and that's a lot harder to decipher.
Especially not knowing where the quarterback's putting guys on.
Right,
like,
where's
some
he
quarterbacks,
hot off of, and this and that. And I think PFF, they do it. It's the other misperception from JJ, just to understand. There's nobody that's just an Uber driver that's just
That's what I was going to ask. That was my next question.
So
where do you hear that one at?
It doesn't matter. Like, what Pat needs to do, what McAfee needs to do is like get me on there to just balance JJ's, because it's biased, right? It's biased because he also came out and was like, well, this guy had tackles and this guy had sacks. And
yeah, it's not just bias. Every time JJ talks about PFF, it's pretty clear that he's just stone ignorant on the topic. Like, which is ironic because he loves nothing more than talking about PFF. But that's a guy who's clearly never tried to learn anything about PFF.
Yeah, just have a good faith argument.
Yeah, he's just
just have a good faith discussion.
He never came down and was like, hey guys, I'm going to learn more about this.
So he doesn't know what
that's
he's
like us sitting in the stands of the fans. I want to know what it's like to be.
Exactly.
So really quickly, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So he's never, he's just heard things, and whatever he hears, he repeats on air, right? And it's like, okay, you can like it or dislike it. When we were at PFF, we sat down, we've had conversations with people that hated the grades, going in, and maybe they don't love them coming out, but you get somewhere and they understand the process, and usually it smooths it out to some degree, right? Yeah. Maybe they're not all on board. Oh, I'm a believer now. You don't convert them. It's not an evangelical thing, but they're at least like, okay, I see where you're coming from. It's not as bad as I thought it was. I get it. JJ just hears something from a guy who has no idea where that's come from and just spouts it out. And he's like, so I'm never looking at anything. It's worthless, meaningless. You're like, well, okay, but if anyone that's been connected to it in any way knows how far from the truth what it is you're saying is, and you have no interest in learning more on the subject, so your opinion's just not worth listening to on this topic. There are other people.
Yourself if you want to have, and that's why I ask these kind of funnier questions, because at the end of the day,
they're fair questions though.
It's just fun. But it's also fun.
Football,
this is what it's all about.
Right.
This is exactly what it's all about.
We had the Bustin' with the Boys guys. They had the conspiracy theories about PFF, that agents were paying PFF off and all these things, and we had to shoot down all of those because those are ridiculous conspiracies. But really quick, there's a first run grade that does happen off of broadcast that gets reviewed by multiple reviewers, and there's only 20 people in the world who are allowed to put a final grade on the player, and they're trained up on what they're looking for and everything. So it's not some Uber driver who just signs up. And even Chris Collinsworth, the owner, is over there saying, we have 600 people who work on this, which is true, but there's 20 or 15 who can actually put a final grade on somebody. So I would actually not use the 600 number because it actually makes it sound watered down. Yeah. The grading itself is pretty well defined. And
most concepts, just so everyone knows, are relatively the same. It's spoken in a different language. Like when I went to the New York Giants, okay, I got to learn French because their playbook, outside zone is outside zone.
Right.
Inside zone is inside zone. Some of the power schemes, counter and one back power, whatever it is, you roughly know. So I even see people, casual folks online post about it, I'm like, ooh, like you're even calling that the wrong thing right now.
Right.
So it does matter that there's people that have seen outside zone. They know what outside zone is. It's not an Uber driver, right?
Right. It's football people that are,
and they know what outside zone is, and that's where I think like there is some validity to it. There is, and I you get mad saying it because I'm the one getting critiqued, and my name's on the line. But at the end of the day, there's a business.
But I'm glad you brought up that point because, like, so many people just take this. You know, if you're not in the room, you can't possibly do any of this stuff. And it's, but you kind of,
have you talked to some football coaches before? Like, there's some football minds that are in positions of power.
Oh, great.
Oh, yeah.
But I think most people dramatically overestimate how hard it is to get most of the things right. Because like you said, you turn on the tape and everyone that's that deep into football can tell you this is outside zone, this is what this guy's supposed to be doing. And yeah, there might be wrinkles or nuances here and there, but most of the stuff is pretty obvious. So just because you haven't heard the specific wrinkle or the specific random thing does not mean you're now like, I'm flying blind here. I got no idea what anybody's supposed to be doing.
What is this new thing on
once
TV?
Once the ball snapped, you're showing us your intentions. No matter what the meetings were for the last 6 days leading up to the game, you're showing us what you're doing as you snap the ball. So then you just grade what is happening.
The other thing that I always thought was an interesting point, like, because you hear the other thing you hear a lot is, our offensive line coach went through these games grade by grade, and they weren't even close. You know, they were way off. One of the big differences between like an internal team's grading, quote unquote, and PFF's grading is the internal stuff tends to just be yes or no, right? Plus or minus. Did you do the job? Yes or no. So it's kind of skewed towards, well, most of the time you're doing your job, right? It's only a handful of downgrades. But PFF has this middle ground of 0, like the expectation where there are plays where you and the defensive lineman kind of want to occupy the same gap, you know? So you're happy blocking him over here. He's happy being in that gap. You're both good, right?
Yeah.
Now, your guy, the offensive line coach, is like, did your job, plus. But PFF's like, well, both guys are happy to be there. It's 0. It's neither a plus nor a minus. And a huge amount of those grades are in that bucket. So it's not going to look the same because it's not going to be like a 95% success rate.
I actually describe that as PFF's advantage is that they're grading both sides. And intention on both sides, not just one. So
that makes a ton of sense too.
Take some bias out of it, I would say.
Now, will you guys give a bigger award for a guy with a big pancake block or cleaning somebody up? Because
in the run game,
In the run game,
Pass game's more of like don't lose than value.
Because I look at it like I wouldn't take a lot of these shots sometimes because if you have Myles Garrett hemmed up, why give him a chance to get back up and be a freak athlete? Like if anything, I'm going to go double team him. Like I would pull him towards me to be like, hey, let's not make sure he doesn't go anywhere near this
play. In pass protection, it's more about like just
and you're taking guys out at that time. Like so, okay, I got you. That's great. I mean, look, these are the dialogues you need to have. These are the things that we learn as
we're happy to have all the even though we don't work there anymore, just to clear things up. And I think JJ needs to get cleared up as well.
Oh, hey, JJ. You got to come on the show, man.
JJ, come on, man. Like let's talk through
this.
Call. You get him. You tell him we'll have a nice, honest discussion here. He's upset because
when
Garrett
you're
was
watching,
always above TJ.
When you're watching, Garrett is the best non-quarterback in the NFL. Like it's not even close. And I'm not a Cleveland Browns.
Everybody you ask says that outside of Pittsburgh.
And I think that became like the last few years that really changed. Like initially there was definitely an argument that TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, one guy has more production, the other guy maybe is better physically gifted. In the last few years, it seems to have everyone's come around to the idea that Myles Garrett is just the best now.
I've hit both guys, and when I put hands on Myles Garrett his rookie year, you don't know until you put hands on somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like I went to hit Myles Garrett, and it was like hitting a cinder block wall, and I was like, to my left tackle, I was like, have fun with that.
I can't believe his stride length and how he gets on you so quickly and then turns the corner.
And that's what
it just makes it so much more sad that the Browns just can't get it figured out while he's there.
That's what Armstead said about Jared Verse last year. He's like, that kid's different. You touched it's not the same as
they're pushing you, but you've got more questions. We've got all day if you do.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.
And the all-knowing algorithm is convinced you'll also like these videos, and who are we to argue?